Hello, Nila. Thank you
Hi.
so much for agreeing to this interview. Would you like to give a short introduction of yourself?
Sure. Okay. I am Nila Gupta. I'm an artist and an organizer and a writer and critic, I guess. And I have multiple physical, mental health, chronic health issues and disabilities. I'm also South Asian, Bengali, working class, alphabet soup time, queer and trans. I have done some organising around disability stuff, but largely in people of colour only or queer people of colour only groups. That's me.
Okay. What do you think of the Disability History Month, if at all?
Honestly, until you contacted me about this, I didn't even know it was a thing. I was just like, oh, okay. I think it's exciting. I think it's a bit I was surprised I hadn't heard about it before. Is it quite new, or has it been running a while?
Yeah, it's been running.
Right, yeah. So you sent me the thing, and then I basically went, oh, that exists, and looked it up. So I don't really have much context for it. And I wonder how much of that is the difference between how some kinds of categories are talked about. Like Black History Month comes from a very particular kind of political, historical place, especially in Britain. I think it's quite different from the US, and it comes from a very particular place. And I'm interested that different communities can kind of adopt a strategy from somewhere else, but it is more likely, for example, to come to Black and racialized communities, because I think of things to do with organizing and archiving. I'm being a bit vague, but I'm interested in when it becomes relevant to a different set of people or an overlapping set of people.
How do you think being disabled has impacted on you as a person of color, or being a person of color impacted on your disability?
Yeah, so there were about 3 million things I could say, but we have 5 minutes. So the two things that struck me are, one, how white disability justice movements are here. Like, people I'm connected to who are in the States and in Brazil and in various other places, the movements are often very Black and Indigenous led. They're often very woman led. They're often Black women at the centre. There are often queer Black men talking precisely about the things we were talking about before recording, like incarceration, whether that's criminal incarceration or disability or psychiatric incarceration. And I find I've done a lot of work in kind of queer and feminist movements, which can be quite white, but it was still quite shocking. So I'm relatively new to being around like disability organising in the UK. It's only maybe in the last 6 or 7 years. And it's really striking to me. And one of the things about that is, apart from anything else, it's an access issue. If I have to go around doing really basic 101 introductions to how race and disability intersect, or if I'm the only person of colour in a room, that space is immediately less accessible to me. It's striking to me because, as well, I can see there are movements which are working class led, very strongly so, and centre working class politics and lives, but they're still incredibly white. And it kind of furthers an idea that you can be a person of colour or a working class person. And if you're disabled, you couldn't possibly be both, because you just don't see yourself anywhere. So that's point one. Point two is a specific thing. So I have a social care budget now. It took me 4 years to get it. I live in Lambeth, and Lambeth I now know are notorious for being the worst LHA in the country. But even so, my advocate, Dennis, who we both know, was just like, I have never seen a case as bad as yours. I have never seen a thing. And they identified particular things. One of them was the extent to which I was expected to be pliant and grateful and obedient in a way that Dennis is like, my white working class clients are not expected to be as pathetically grateful for and the sanctioning and so it took 4 years, and in the end it took me getting lawyers, and the lawyers had to threaten a judicial review. And you and I both know how long Dennis has been doing this work. Dennis was like, this is the first time it has got to the point where they've had to threaten a judicial review to get you. So it was really striking. It's hard to describe in words, but it's attitudinal. It's me being expected to just shut up and be grateful for things. And also, so they sent a woman of colour social try and get me off guard, but this was the person who threatened me with institutionalisation. She said word for word, and then she put it in a report. She said, if you need more than 7 hours care a week, we would be questioning whether you could live independently, and we would be investigating institutionalised care.
Whoa.
And I don't think they'd have done that to a white person in that same situation. So there are two things, and one of those is about the mainstream experience of being a racialised disabled person who can be put to the bottom of the pile, and the other one is about how I see that reflected in movements too. I've seen people try and raise really basic questions about, for example, Black disability, rates of disability in the UK, connecting different kinds of incarceration, and I've seen people shoot it down in a kind of, this isn't a disability issue. And I'm kind of just like, no, you mean it's not a white disability issue? So yeah, I kind of too. Oh, and my other very small point is people feel very differently about acronyms, and BIPOC isn't perfect because it's US derived and there are complexities, but I much prefer it to be AME, largely because I have never heard any of us, no one has ever said to other people, hello, I'm a BAME. And it speaks to me of policy talk, and it doesn't come from us, it gets put on us. So yeah, those are my like bullet points things.
Thank you so much. That's very interesting. I mean, that's not the right word, but you know what I mean.
I understand.
Thank you very much. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.